Here we go. Let's see how we do. Glad you are here. It is nice. That is awesome. Hey, everyone. So glad you're here. Today, we are going to be talking about the 4 C's. Okay. Now, if you think about diamonds, the diamonds 4 C's is cut, clarity, carat, and color, right? But these 4 C's are you literally being able to share these 4 C's that can literally be the thing that puts you out there in a way that makes people want to consume your value, want to invest into the things that you are sharing with them so that you can make a difference in people's lives. Now, there's lots of things that come up when I have this conversation, because one of the things that comes up, 2 of the things that shame hold more than anything is our whole thing with sex and our whole thing with money, right? And oh man, friends, I can't tell you, I've got an acupuncturist. So I see an acupuncturist, an amazing acupuncturist. Like, it took me a while to find this guy because I'd been to like an extraordinary acupuncturist, and then I moved, and then I went to another one and wasn't able to find somebody that was really, really good. But then I found this guy. And when COVID happened, this is really, really important. When COVID happened and he shut down, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, are you still open?" He goes, "Yeah." I go and see him, and I asked him, I says, "How much business have you lost since everything shut down?" And this was probably May, I believe, of 2020. And he says, "I've lost 75 to 80% of my business." I says, "Well, I can give you some suggestions if you'd like. This is what I do. I consult with businesses and I show them how to expand what it is that they do." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm okay. I'm good." Lost 80% of his business. And this is one of the biggest things that stop entrepreneurs more than anything else. And that is, they don't like to self-promote, right? Because we have been conditioned to understand that self-promotion is arrogance, self-promotion is egotistical, lots of different things, right? But see, understand, friends, that if people do not share their value and put it out there for other people to acquire, it's going to go to somebody that knows how to, that's totally okay with promoting their services, right? And so, curtain match the drapes. Curtain match the drapes. I don't know what you mean by that, but anyway, so your ability to put yourself out there, like what you have to offer, can literally be the thing that takes somebody from where they're at to where they want to be, right? So the more you can't hear me. Let me love out of here. Susan, you can't hear me. What do you mean you can't hear me? Can I do a test? Can somebody else hear me down here? That would be great. So you understanding and being able to step into what it is that you really do and being able to do it from your agency is hugely, hugely important, because on many, many, many levels, right? Because whatever it is that you promote, what's really important to understand is that there's nobody that can do it the way you do it, right? Now, it doesn't matter if you're representing a company. In fact, that's a great distinction. If you're in network marketing or direct sales or multi-level marketing, there's some things to understand. This is a great distinction for you, right? Is that you are not a representative of that company. You represent a company, right? So you positioning yourself as somebody that represents that company is basically you saying, "I endorse everything that they sell," but you are not a representative of that company, right? You do not work for the company. And it's really important to have these little teeny distinctions so that when you talk to people, it's done in a way that allows them to understand that you're setting up something like you are the end all be all, and you're the one that's going to really take this to another thing, because this is really, really important. And this is the 4 C's that we're going to talk about. What is the biggest thing that happens, whether you are a consumer or whether you are promoting your services? What is the thing that you believe that stands in the way more than anything else, right? The thing that we want to overcome, not overcome, I don't really like that verbiage, but we have to be able to demonstrate that what we do, that this person can trust us, right? That the person that we are talking to can trust us, so that we are the person that's going to take them from where they at to where they want to be, no matter what it is that we're selling, whether it's bubble bath, whether it's high level coaching, whether it's fitness training, whatever it is. They have to be able to believe in themselves believe in themselves and believe that what it is that you're selling is going to be the thing that's going to take them from where they want to be. So what's really important to understand about this is that you have to have clarity in what it is that you sell. So let me share my screen here. I finally got this set up. Like yesterday, I wasn't able to do this and had to jump through some hoops. Oops, let me do that. And let me go here. Boom. Okay. So TikTok, you're not going to see this. That's why I encourage you to get over to the potentialzonegroup.com and you'll be able to see actually what I'm writing. But for everybody else, you get to see this. Okay, so the 4 C's. The first C of the 4 C's is clarity, right? Clarity of message. Why is this important? Because if you don't understand who you're serving your audience to, then you're not going to understand how to articulate your message so that it lands for the people that you want to provide results for. So this absolutely blew me away one time. I'm sitting there with a friend of mine who's been a car salesman all his life, decades. Like he was in his late 60s, right? The old boy had sold a lot of cars. And he said something that absolutely blew me away. He goes, and he, by the way, he had hepatitis C, right? And he was taking medication that was ridiculously expensive. Like I could not believe, like thousands of dollars a month he had to pay on the prescriptions that he was taking to overcome hepatitis C. And he said, have you ever seen a hepatitis C commercial? And I'm like, I don't know. I've seen some of them. Don't really pay attention to them. And he says, these people really understand what I'm going through. And I was like, oh my gosh, does he even understand what is actually happening? The reason they understand what he's going through is because they've done their homework. They know their pain. They know their struggles. They know what keeps them up at night. So you understanding your marketplace, which is what is the result that your product provides? What is the pain? Friend, I'm going to, like, this is super important for everybody to understand. What is the number one most profitable business in the world? Excuse me, industry. What is the most profitable industry in the world? It is the world, undoubtedly the most powerful, most profitable industry in the world, right? It's pain. It is pain, right? So if you can alleviate people's pain, people are more pain adverse than they are to seek pleasure, right? They want to do, like, this is what the media conditions everybody to believe is if they can keep them angry, if they can keep them afraid, they can control how they behave, right? So you getting people to understand the pain that whatever you provide is going to relieve people of that. Like you have this truck, you're going to be able to do what it is that you want to do. And friends, I'm going to drop a bomb here. This is super, super important because I'm going to share with you the very thing you need a special, you don't need a special license to alleviate anything. Is it's super, what's important to understand is that we have all been told a lie, right? And what I call it is the sham, society's hypnotic altered matrix, right? We have all been sold a bill of goods that makes us feel inadequate. And it's the advertising formula for everything. This is super important to understand so that you know what's happening inside of you, right? And it is, you have to have in order for you to do, then you get to be, right? So you have to have this car so that you get to do these cool things, and then you get to be the successful looking person, right? That is actually backwards for the way that it is really supposed to be. How it's really supposed to be is that you get to be, then you get to do, then you get to have, right? So out of your beingness, you finding out what it is you truly love to do, then you get to do that, and out of doing what you get to be, then you get to have. Right? But see, the way that it is set up, you have to have this. Their whole agenda is to get you to feel inadequate, right? So the reason this is important for you to understand, if you're an entrepreneur or a direct marketer or whatever it is that you want to convey a message, is you have to have clarity in who you're communicating with and what is it that your product, service, whatever, widget provides relief for, right? Because you are never, ever, ever going to sell meat to a vegetarian. I don't care how great of a sell, like, you hear they're saying, well, he's such a great salesman, he sells ice to an Eskimo. Why would you want to sell ice to an Eskimo? Like, think about that. Why would I want to sell something to somebody that they don't want, right? And so, yeah, for sure, that's some of it. He puts up there, most cures come from getting rid of parasites. That's part of it, without a doubt, right? But it's understanding, again, what does your product do? what is the outcome? What is the result that it provides for your clients? And it's not the tangible stuff. It's more of psychological. So what is their psychographics? Like, what is it that keeps them up at night, right? Like, I am overwhelmed. Like, I deal with anxiety, right? What is that anxiety costing them? How is it showing up in their business? How does it show up in their ability to make decisions to move through the things that they need to move through in order to create what it is that they want to create? How is their imposter syndrome impacting their lives? Right? Like, all of these are messages that are very, very important that you have clarity around, so that when you speak to them and put your message out there, it conveys exactly what it is that they need to hear in order to believe that you are the person that is going to support them in finding the results that they really want to find. Okay. So that's the first one. Clarity is the first C. Second one is, after you know this, then you get to create. Right? You get to create all the different content. So this is what I would recommend everybody do that has a business or service. And if you don't, okay, I'm going to say this again. I say this often, right? I think being an entrepreneur is one of the greatest opportunities to humanity known to them. One is, look what happened in March of 2020. The world got shut down and everybody got to see just how secure their jobs were. Right. And I think you can look at that as like, that's crisis, or you can look at that crisis has danger and it has opportunity. So what I would encourage you to look at is an opportunity, because the two biggest expenses, and you need to know what these two biggest expenses are. The second biggest expenses is taxes, right? You being an entrepreneur, you having a home-based business gives you incredible tax write-offs, right? I'm not an accountant, nor do I play one on the internet, but I'd encourage you to check that out. The most expensive thing is what we don't know, right? And that means that if you don't know what it is, then somebody else knows that, and you are ignorant. You are naive. The greatest thing that causes more pain than anything else out there, my friend, is naivety. What people don't know, right? And that's why I really, really am passionate about sharing this message out there. So once you have clarity in your message and speaking to their pain, so what keeps me up at night is the inability to plan and execute. ADHD, sorry, caps. It's all good. But see, ADHD, this again is part of how we've been conditioned to show up and looking at. So do you meditate? Do you do breath work? Do you journal? Do you spend time teaching yourself how to focus, right? So this would be a message, and because this is some of the stuff I deal with my clients, is being able to, I had ADHD, but I had PTSD, I had bipolar, like I had all kinds of trauma that really kept me from stepping into my greatness. So because I went through that, I know what my clients experience, right? So I can speak to that from experience. And see, if we don't understand this, see, there's 3 P's. There's 3 P's to business. There is your product, there is your process, and there is your people, right? And if you understand these 3 P's and they're all congruent, then you can step into your message powerfully, right? Do you really believe that you are the person that is going to impact this person in a way and give them the results that they really want, right? If you don't, then you deal with whatever you've got to deal with in order for you to believe that, right? Do you believe that this product is going to be the very thing that this person needs at whatever level or whatever they're at in the journey of life? Right? And then does the process support them in creating what it is that they want to create? And this is one of the things I've seen with so many people in network marketing. I've trained for network marketing companies. I've coached some of the biggest network marketers out there. And I watch these very successful network marketers actually break down because they were representing a company that they weren't congruent with, they weren't aligned with. They built these huge companies. Once they built a huge company, they went in and started seeing what was happening behind closed doors. And they began to see who these people were really that were behind closed doors. And they said, these people aren't aligned with who I was. They just built these huge organizations and went, oh my gosh, now what am I supposed to do? Right? And their bodies broke down and they ended up in the hospital. Right? And these are the things that I supported them in coaching it, because friends, if you are not in your power, you are breaking down. Right? And it's our wounds that keeps us from really looking at what this is important. So again, having clarity, knowing the message to communicate, and then you creating content that lands for your clients in the way that you want them to land. So what is ROI? The ROI for my ROI Accelerator Challenge is to remember your ability to create, like your ability to be where you were at a time in your life before you were conditioned to play small, right? This is my ROI Accelerator Challenge that I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes. The O is to optimize, like really being able to optimize everything within yourself, because every single thing you make, every decision you make is literally clarifying what it is that you truly value. The thing is, most people don't know what they truly value, right? What you value is what you truly are driving. We don't get what we don't get what we want. We get what we are committed to, right? So what are you committed to that has kept you playing at the level that you've been playing at, right? And so I get people optimized to get them super focused on what it is that they really want to create in their life. And then, the I is about being able to influence in a very impactful way so that people see you as the only logical choice that's going to give them the results that they desire to have, right? This is what the whole ROI Accelerator Challenge.com is all about, okay? So the third C is all about connect, right? And what's important about connecting is 93% of communication is unconscious, right? Most people don't know this. I'm just going to abbreviate that. 93% of communication is unconscious. Let me support you in what I mean by that. Let's break it down into 3 areas. Only 7% of communications are the words we use. This is why when you are texting very intimate and personal conversations with somebody, that all kinds of things get broke down and things get misunderstood, because it's only 7% of communication. And that means that 93% on the other side is interpreting it. And what happens in lack of clarity, our wounds will fill in the gap. In the lack of clarity, our wounds will fill in the gap. It's not sex or money that break down relationships. It is lack of clear, effective communication. And I'm not talking about just intimate partnerships or relationships. I'm talking about all relationships, right? Like going back to what I was saying about optimize, the reason business partnerships break down is because within each partner, they have different sets of values, right? One might think of making an impact. The other one is thinking about profit. You have 2 entirely different drivers, right? And you're going to make different decisions based on the values that you really have. Like I've said, what determines the decisions you make is what you truly value at a deep unconscious level. Most people, every single person I've done this with, every single person I've ever done this with, was not able to tell me what it is that they actually thought they valued. They started out, knocked out some numbers, but then ended up finding that there's something much, much deeper that is really, really driving them. The other thing that's important about values is understanding, are you moving away from or moving towards what it is that you want to create? This is super important, because if you're moving away, you're losing motivation from what originally motivated you, right? And then you've got to go back to what originally motivated you, right? Like, I want to lose weight. Okay, cool. Start losing weight. You get over here. Oh, crap. I'm not motivated anymore, so I got to put more weight on, so I'm motivated again, right? So it's getting clear and concise about what it is that you really want to create. So going back to communication, 7% of words, 38% is the tonality aspect of it, okay? Which means the cadence, the speed, the volume, the pausing, everything has to do, 38% of it is auditory, the auditory aspect of communication. Then, this is the big part, 55% of communication is physiology, right? Like, I can sit here and just sit in a screen and I can communicate lots of things without saying a word. It's way more powerful. So when we understand this, then we're going to be able to communicate to people that provides a safe space for them so that they take down the resistance, because the resistance is all about, I don't trust you. And see, with most people, here's the thing that most people will never admit. The reason they don't trust other people is because they don't trust themselves, right? Because they've made a decision in the past that they have a narrative around, like, I failed, like I got taken advantage of, right? Like, and this is why I'm so passionate about this, friends. If you do not understand influence, it is being used on you, right? A book I recommend everybody read, and this is part of the ROI Accelerator Challenge. Again, in fact, let me put this up on the screen. For those of you on TikTok, it's in my bio. Go click on my bio and sign up for it. It's $1, but I would encourage you to do the VIP, because I'm going to be doing live coaching with that as well. And then you're going to get access to Laws of Success. And one of the things that, like, I've listened to Think and Grow Rich over 300 times, right? And the thing that surprised Napoleon Hill more than anything else, he interviewed over 16,000 people. And out of those 16,000 people, the thing that surprised him more than anything is people's inability to get honest with their inadequacies. Most people don't want to look at their inadequacies because of how they judge them. But see, this is the magic, right? And this is all part of getting clear about who you work with, being able to create a message that lands for them, because everybody's like, well, I just want to sell it to everybody. You try to sell to everybody, you're going to sell it to nobody, right? And then being able to connect with them in a way, your vulnerability, your insight, your authenticity in talking to them about what you've really gone through is going to support them in trusting you, right? Your vulnerability is what connects us to hearts with other people. Like I can talk about being on bipolar. I can talk about almost ending my sister's life in a car accident. I can talk about me struggling with PTSD. I can talk about me being molested, me being abandoned, abused. All these things are part of my journey. And because I share that vulnerability, it allows other people to connect with me because they relate to who I am, right? And this develops a deep intimacy and it takes down their resistance. But see, we're not going to be able to share that with people unless we have transcended and healed those things that we're able to communicate with other people. Your greatest challenge, my friend, your greatest challenge is your greatest opportunity to inspire other people and to be able to do it in a way that you can connect with them so that they feel safe to make an investment in themselves to walk through whatever results you provide for them. Okay. Massively, massively important. Okay. And then the last one is to convert. This is the biggest one. This is so big is because shame is a massive, massive part of this. And what I mean by this, so a lot of people have issues with sales. Okay. And actually the word sell or sell, we're going to put it both ways to cover both of them. The word sell is actually a Latin word that means to serve. It means to serve, right? But see, and I get it. There are people out there. I've worked with some of them. I've managed some of them. Like I've seen some stuff. Like I was in the car industry. I was in the RV industry. I was in the diamond industry. Like I've been around very high level salespeople. And I get it. There are some people out there that have done some unethical things without a doubt, right? But this is why it's important though. The reason most people don't trust salespeople is because they don't trust themselves, right? Like I enjoy going and test driving cars because I know nobody's going to sell me anything that I don't want, right? And the other part is like sometimes I enjoy educating salespeople of like, dude, if you're going to keep showing up this way, you are never going to get a sell from me. Right? So let me go back to this and switch back to cameras. So it's understanding that there are the 4 C's, right? We've got to get really, really, really clear on who we are, the message that we bring, the results that we provide, and looking at who is the marketplace that we want to attract. For coaches, this is super important. So many people, I don't want to say I've never been asked this question. I have been asked it a few times, but it's not really a thing that comes up just because of how I come to the table. Is the certifications that I have to do hypnotherapy and timeline therapy and NLP and all the coaching and stuff like that. I don't get asked those questions. Why? Because I talk about the results. I talk about the results my clients get. I talk about the results of the things that I have transcended to be the person that shows up the way I show up. Now I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I don't want to be everybody's cup of tea because see, the thing that's important to understand here is that when there is something that is going to happen, let's say the result, right? And let's say there's 2 people that are required to create this result, whatever it is, whether you're in a relationship, whether you are doing a business transaction, especially being a client, right? And that's one of the things like the coaching industry to me, yeah, it's gotten, I don't want to say it's gotten out of control, but it's gotten out of control on some levels just because it's not regulated right now and anybody can sign up to be a coach. God bless them, right? But there's a reason that 90% of coaches make less than $20,000 a year because they don't know these 4 C's and because you cannot get certified from experience. You cannot buy experience, right? Like you just have to go through stuff in order to transcend it before you can really show up and authentically say, hey, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching. I've spent tens of thousands of hours being coached, and being in support groups and the different things that I've gone through, right? Like I have paid a huge price of admission to be where I'm at. I will never get that through a certification. Yes, have I used technologies and mechanisms that support me in moving my clients through another level? Without a doubt, right? But the thing that's important to understand this is if the coach hasn't done the inner work, they're going to project that onto the client. They're going to project that onto the client. I have worked with people that have worked with very high level coaches, not going to mention their name, but I've worked with people that have worked with so-called high level coaches for, there's a whole story in that, and undone a lot of the things that this coach did to them. Because this coach's strategy was, I'm going to install negative parts inside of this person so that they will always need me. Okay? So yes, having a coach, it can benefit you, without a doubt, right? Just having somebody believe in you is a massive thing, right? Like that really supports people in being able to move through thresholds that hold them back. Having somebody to talk about what it is that you're going on. I don't really, like, yes, of course I listen to my clients, but see, the thing that keeps most people from stepping into their greatness is that they are so invested into the story that they have created, right? It's your ability to let go of that story, right? And I get it. Like, friends, I've had many stories. Like, I can't tell you, like, okay, I almost ended my sister's life. Now I can sit here and go, I almost ended my sister's life by driving drunk, doing 95 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour down the road. We used to see how close we could get to a car before we passed them, right? We love doing this. Well, I'm trashed. I can't even walk. I'm so drunk. Driving down the road, come up to this car, went down into the ditch, hit an intersection, jumped, flew 85 feet, flipped end over end and rolled. Okay. When they found us, they pronounced my sister DOA, right? I was like out of it, obliterated. Woke up in the hospital. The nurse said, "Hey, do you know who you are?" All the questions that I've said many times. How do you make sense of almost ending your sister's life? The reason I keep sharing this, friends, is because my story about that car accident has held me back at many levels, to the point of where I'm at today. Like, I just bought my dream car. Didn't know it was my dream car. I didn't know it was my dream car until I started getting it. And I just, like, the more I drive it, the more I love it. But I didn't understand that there was still parts of me that kept me from stepping into that. Because how could I get something that I love and deserve when what I loved and deserved almost took my sister's life? Like, I had somebody ask me this, and again, this all goes back to the 4 C's that I was talking about, right? Is that I can get crystal clear on my experience, and nobody can question my experience. Like, I had somebody come on TikTok and says, what credentials do you have that I have to listen to you? I just replied, the results my clients get. I don't need to say, hey, here's all my certifications, here's all the things that I've done, blah, blah, blah. I can just talk about what my clients have gone through, right? The results that has happened with my clients as a result of me, because they do the work. I just guide them. I don't do the work. I just guide them, right? They do the work, right? And so what's really important for us to know that is what keeps you from stepping in your power. Because true healing within ourselves is our ability to forgive, which is understanding, learning to let go, which is learning the lessons that we need to glean from it so that we can step into a higher version of who we are. And then into, like I call it my flip process, into our power, reclaiming the power that the wound denied us, right? And entrepreneurs have, I'm talking to me as I'm saying this, right? They have this thing about being strong. I am strong and I don't need anybody, right? I am self-made. Okay. Learning through experience is the most expensive way to learn anything, right? Again, what is our greatest expense is the things that we don't know, right? And I'll show you in the ROI Accelerator Challenge, my exponential growth. I'm going to show you how my journey went, boom, just like that. And I'm going to show you what happened when the exponential curve really started going north, right? It was the things that I was doing that allowed me to let go of what I needed to let go of. And I don't care who you, let me rephrase that. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've been through. Every single level that you go through and you're expanding is going to pull out things of you that you didn't know were there. It's just how it works, which is amazing, right? And I want you to think about this, that when I heard this, like, it's just one of those statements where I was like, oh my gosh, that's a like mic drop and a blow up and everything else. Like, this landed so hard. And I've got a friend of mine that's super, like, I just love Todd. He's an amazing guy, very awake, and really has transcended a lot of his narratives. You can really tell how mature somebody is when you say something that most people can't comprehend and they go, wow, that's interesting. Let's talk about that, right? And most people, you can't even talk about politics with somebody because they're like, well, I don't agree with you, and blah blah blah, and they, right? And this is what causes people to break down. But he said something that was just like, whoa. He said a caterpillar creates a cocoon, it never leaves. Like, that just landed so deep for me, because the caterpillar creates a prison that it has to die, it has to metamorphosize to become a butterfly, and then it's that butterfly that gets it out of the cocoon that the caterpillar created. So how many of you are hanging on to your old identity? Right? You're hanging on to your old identity and your wings are in. Your wings are in, said, hey man, it's time to fly. It is time to go. Right? And see, with entrepreneurs, and I tell them this, like, because it's been told to me, like, I've had a coach for 30 some years, like, not the same one, obviously, but I do the work on myself as well. Right? And I just sent a message to my coach today, and he's just like, if you want transformation and expansion to be easy, you're in the wrong field. You're in the wrong field. Growth is going to be challenging, but that's the reason why some people that don't want to take responsibility for their lives are being seduced into believing that they are entitled. And guess what? When rubber hits the road, they're going to be in very, very, very deep doo-doo because they don't have the fortitude and the strength within themselves. Like, I know Alicia's here, that gal, whew, she's got it going on. Like, you want to get tired watching somebody, go watch her videos. Right? Like, she's ruthless, relentless in her doing what she does, and she does it better. I mean, she's amazing. She's amazing at it, right? So being able to, what is it that's holding you back? What is it inside of you that's holding you back? And see, most entrepreneurs, most creators, things like that, they just don't want to get really honest with that, because if they get real about what is holding them back, then they're going to have to make some changes. Right? But I'll share a story with you. This is from one of my fellow colleagues in hypnotherapy. Actually, she introduced me to another hypnotherapist that I trained with for a long, long time, amazing hypnotherapist. But she said she was coaching him. He's a huge, successful entrepreneur up in San Francisco. Massive, massive entrepreneur in San Francisco. And he couldn't figure out why he would blow his business up and then it would fall apart. Blow it up and then it would fall apart. Blow it up and it'd fall apart. This is how our subconscious works, and this is why this is so, so powerful. They did hypnosis, and what they discovered was he had a girlfriend, fiance, living up in Washington. And see, his subconscious was going, wait a minute, you want to be with her, but if you keep building this business up here, you're not going to be able to leave your business. So how he ran his business was actually following his heart. Once he got clear on what was actually happening, he was able to create strategies that would support what he wanted to create. But see, our subconscious does not filter things positive or negative. That is the logical. This is the conscious part of our mind, right? And so understanding that when we have chemistry and when we have all these different things, there are people out there that are running entrepreneurial businesses, that are going down entrepreneurial journeys, that they're doing it for somebody else. Like, a lot of people. Like, I had another client, guy would make $650,000, $700,000 a year as a salesperson for somebody else, lose it all. 700,000, lose it all. Like, up and down. Like, he did this like 20 years of his life. When I met him, he was literally staying in the basement of somebody's house. He was an account executive for a very, very, very high profile infomercial company, or information company, by a legend, by the way. And when we started working with him, we got into doing unconscious work with him and found out that he made a decision about money, because his dad was a very successful entrepreneur and his dad worked all the time when he was a child. And he made a decision that money was more important than him. He made a decision that money was more important than him. As a child, why would we want to attract something in our life that we have deemed more important than us? I say this because I can relate to it, because this is one of the first ones that I really related to when I started looking at my money blueprint. Then I kept digging deeper, and I remember making the decision I hated money. I hated money. I hated debt, right? Because I used to watch my parents horrifically fight over it. As a child, you see that and go, this isn't about two people that are being irresponsible and don't know how to communicate and don't know how to work their challenge. You don't see that as a child. You just go, money's the cause of this. And I don't ever want to experience that in my life. And so we attract it, we want it because we want to make some things happen and choose it. And some people do it just because they want significance and they're afraid to look at what is really motivating them. Like, I just had a conversation with somebody a couple of days ago. Life is great. Why do you want to make money? Because it's fun. It makes us look good, blah, blah, blah. But inside, like, she's running from being poor. It just is what it is, right? There's no judgment. Like, so it's looking at what is it really driving you. So all of this to say, this is the first C. Get very clear on why you do what you do. Get very clear on it. See, there was a time when Schlitz malt liquor. Now, if you drank Schlitz beer, like I haven't drank in over 30 years. And I remember very vividly what Schlitz beer tastes like. It's horrible. It's horrible. But yet back, I don't know when it was, back in the 30s, 40s, something like that. It crushed it because it started telling everybody the story. It got very clear on the message that it put out there. And it made massive, massive, huge. And the thing that they told everybody was how they brewed it. Right? So your story is massively powerful. Why do you do what you do? What sets your soul on fire? Right? Getting very clear about that. Getting very, very clear about that. Right? And then out of that, you can start creating the content and become omnipresent. Like you just go into Google, type in my name, and you're going to get all kinds of stuff back. I've been doing this for a very long, decades. I've been doing this, putting out videos and things like that. I didn't start here, right? But most people aren't willing to suck at something long enough to get good at it. Most people aren't willing to be bad at something long enough to get good at it. I totally get it. Like everything I'm talking about, this is right. And so because we get benefits out of procrastinating. We get benefits out of being distracted because it supports a deeper story within ourselves that I'm not worthy, I don't matter, I'm never going to make anything happen, right? So it's really looking at all these things that impact us from really stepping into our greatness, right? So you can get clarified, you start creating, and then you start connecting with people. You connect with intimacy. You connect with being vulnerable. One of the things, so I've been doing a lot of discovery calls from people on TikTok, right? And if you're interested in taking your life to a whole other level, right? I'm inviting you. Like if you're interested, go comment on one of my videos saying interested. We can get on a 15-minute conversation and I can show you how to get from where you're at to where you want to be in the shortest amount of time you ever thought possible, right? But I've been having lots of conversation with people on TikTok and I asked, the very first question I asked them is, what inspired you to reach out to me? They say my authenticity. I seem like an authentic person. And I am, because I understand the cost of not being authentic. If I'm being unauthentic to myself, I'm being incongruent to myself, and I am literally creating a crap show that's going to break down. Anything that's created out of fear is destined to break down, right? All I have is me. I don't want people that connect with me that aren't connected with me authentically, because that's going to be a pain in the butt. Like I said, this is the result that is provided by two people, me bringing my widget, me bringing my service, whatever it is, and the person that I work with coming to the table and doing what they're supposed to be doing. If they back up, if they don't take full responsibility to creating the result, whatever result they want to create, guess what that means? In order to create the result, then I have to make up what they don't want to do. Not going to do that. I'm not interested in that. There are people, I respect your model of the world. You don't want to do the work? Great. You do you, I'm going to do me. Because whenever you're in a relationship and somebody is not doing their part, right? Like a successful relationship is two people showing up at 100%, right? Being the best version of them that they can be and bringing the best version of them they can to the table, right? Like that's how a successful relationship works, whether it's intimate, business, doesn't matter, friendship, whatever it is, right? If somebody isn't showing that way, and I get it, like we all have our days, we have our moments, like when I'm not able to show up at 100%, like I'm, whatever's going on, right? But if it's consistent and I am starving the relationship, somebody's paying a price for that, right? So we've got to learn how to say what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, right? Like I respect your model of the world, got it. You want to be here, have real conversations, right? And most people, how many things do we not tell people because we're afraid of hurting their feelings? But yet we are the one that carries that. We are more concerned with their feelings, and that's how we hold them, right? We are keeping them small by saying they can't handle the truth. And then we carry it, and then we carry it. And then we take it until we don't care anymore how it lands. And then we get aggressive. That's called passive aggressive, right? But we're the ones that created it, right? Like, this is my journey in my life. I was raised with two narcissists, empaths, dark empaths, like lots and lots of things, right? I got lots and lots of training into being who I am today, right? And I still got my journey. I still am on a journey. So, thanks, Susan. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, because the relationship is literally two people coming together and creating it. The relationship in itself is its own entity. It's its own entity, right? And if you're taking from the relationship, I get it. You have your days, right? Like two people depositing in the bank account's going to grow. If one's taken out, withdrawn, the other one's got to make up for it or say, hey, peace out, I'm done, right? But see, then we get into, well, I made a decision to do this till death do us part. Okay, well, let's talk about death. Let's talk about death. What does death really mean? Some people are dead, but they just still live in a body bag. They still live in a skin sack, right? But they're dead inside. They're dead inside, right? So again, this goes back to the communication thing, right? The words are not the item or the experience they represent, right? And understanding that when I say something, somebody is going to hear it through their own filters. They're going to hear it through their own model of the world, right? And if I say something and it lands and I go, oh, well, that probably is not what, that the reaction, how they responded to it is not in line with what the intention of that. So I would say, what did you just hear me say? Well, I heard you say this. Well, okay, that's not what I said. How, and then the one that is communicating is the one that is responsible for how it lands, because somebody is interpreting it however they're interpreting it. And for the communicator, the more responsibility they take, right, is the one that is literally going to, the one that is communicating it, it's their responsibility to communicate it in a way that it lands. Let me give you a case in point. This is super important. Yes, and I see comments over here, and that's awesome. I'm going down the road, and this was a while back, and I said, hey, when we get home, let's call my sister. All of a sudden, it's silent in the car. I'm like, okay, what's up? Like, what's up? Nothing's up. Nothing's bothering me. Really? Well, I've been doing this for a while. I can tell whether there's something bothering you. No, I'm nothing bothering me. Okay, just entertain me. What is going on? Well, you said when we get home to call your sister. That's not what I said. That is not what I said. I said, when we get home, we can see, there you go again. What did you just hear me say? You said, when we get home, I'm supposed to call your sister. The models were completely different. Like what I was saying was landing through past experience, through wounds, through whatever, right? And because I know that, I'm able to hold space and go, okay, how can we work through this, right? The strength of a relationship, is its ability to move through challenges, right? But so many people, when we live in our truth, the results are going to be what they're supposed to be, right? And how we characterize somebody is how we have to hold them. And what I mean by that is, well, they can't really handle the truth, and see, the other part of it is that how we hold our own experience, right, is going to impact how we show up as well, right? Like if we have shame and regret and all these things about stuff that we did with the amount of knowledge or wisdom or experience that we had at that time, right? Like you would be amazed the stories that I hear, right? Like it's amazing what humans are capable of doing. It's amazing what people are capable of doing. And with that said too, is we're all capable of doing things way beyond what we ever thought was possible if we're put in their situation. So judgment is just a protection mechanism. That's all it is, right? Everybody's on a journey. Everybody's on a journey, right? And so it's super important how we talk about anything else or anybody else is how we really are talking about ourselves, right? Do I judge people? Yep, I do. Do I make assumptions? Yep, I do, right? I'm on a journey. Like this is mastery, right? Yes, good for you, Diggy9. Good for you, right? Because sometimes it's like I call the insanity train, right? Like sometimes we are going to hang on so freaking tight. We are going to hang on so tight and get the living crap torn out of us, hanging onto the sanity train. Like, I'm not letting go. I'm not going to let go. I'm going to hang on whatever it takes. And you end up being ripped apart. And then all you have is a nub hanging on the back of that train before you let go. Right. Yes, absolutely. Somebody said it doesn't work when the other person refuses to deal with childhood issues. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what's really important is because, see, here's the other thing is learning. This is so important what I'm going to share with you, friends. So important. Because our focus is our life force. Our focus is our life force. What you choose to focus on, you can literally become captivated by it. Like you can become subject to what you really focus on, right? And when you're dealing with somebody that doesn't want to take responsibility for their own stuff, that means you have to take on more responsibility if the relationship is going to sustain. But what happens is there's a thing called sunken cost fallacy. And that means the more energy you put into something, the more life you are creating in that. The more you are being sucked into it, you are being siphoned into that. And the more painful it is for us to leave. It's called entanglement. Okay. So this is what's really, really important is for you to understand. So for example, here's a great example of this. When you bet on a football game, guess what? It's an entirely different football game because you invested energy into it. Now you are way more committed to the outcome of it. Right? So when you've invested hope and you've invested all these things into a relationship and done it so wonderful that you're not able to even see how you're getting life sucked out of you, right? It becomes that much more painful when you want to disentangle it, right? And then if they're really good at words and not taking responsibility and doing the things that they're doing, they're going to gaslight you. They're going to make you feel guilty for them not taking responsibility for their own stuff, right? And see, now you might be thinking, what does this have to do with entrepreneurship? Oh, everything. Everything. Friends, understand that we live in a society that you can brag about being a workaholic. Workaholism is nothing more than just another way to avoid what's going on within yourself. To me, there's no honor in it, right? It's just another mechanism that you use to overcompensate for the suffering that you're experiencing inside. Been there, done it. Like, I'm not talking about any of this stuff that I haven't gone through myself, right? And so what's really important for us to understand, the distance between our inner world and our outer world is what's going to cause us suffering, right? And the more we suffer and the more we ignore it and the more we pretend it's not there, the more we're going to suffer, right? And then one day we're going to be laying on our backs and going, what in the hell has been happening all my life? And it's the questions have always been there. They've always been there. But see, we don't want to look at it because there are our deepest fears. And I'm going to drop a bomb here. Our biggest fear. And this is why go to the ROIacceleratorchallenge.com because there's so much more I want to teach on this. Our biggest fear, it's a primal level fear. It's a primal level fear. Our biggest fear is being separated from our tribe. So think about what that means. It means if I have a belief, right? If I have a belief that I was conditioned from my tribe, and if I start challenging that belief, we automatically go into, I'm going to be rejected, right? Our biggest fear for a lot of us is being abandoned, right? And we would rather be treated like garbage and live with someone that we feel absolutely miserable with than facing our greatest fear. Like you go back to medieval times, you go back to the Bronze Age and all that stuff. They didn't execute people. They exiled them. That was more painful than executing them, right? So the thing that's cool is you learning how to be cool with you loving the relationship that you have with yourself. Then when you come to a relationship, see, this is what most people do. And I use this analogy all the time. You go to a grocery store hungry. How good of a strategy is that? I don't care how powered up you are. I don't want to say I don't care because I do. I want you to be powered up. It doesn't matter how powered you up because I consider myself, I'm pretty powered up when it comes to mastering things, right? But I still know I can feel it. The moment I go into a grocery store hungry and not really even conscious of going in, I'm like, get in and get out, right? Because our body has taken over. Our body is in survival, right? Fitting in was, yeah, yep. Good, Susan. Absolutely. And so our body is literally in survival. So what we do is we make decisions to get us out of that state as quick as possible. We are in a very unresourceful state. Okay. So one of the greatest lessons I learned when I got sober, they said, don't go where it's slippery. Don't go where it's slippery. And so same thing goes with emotionally. Like, don't go where it's slippery, right? Like, don't get into relationships that are going to take you down past. But see, so we're down here in survival when we go into the grocery store. Right? We do not because in this moment, every decision we make is a reflection of what we truly value. And when we are in that survival state, we are valuing getting out of it as fast as possible. Okay. So we make very inappropriate choices. But see, friends, we also do this with money and business opportunities and jobs. Like, how many of us have been in a job for a majority of our lives? Like, I've been pretty fortunate. Like, I've had a great career in anything that I had a great career. Now, yeah, I've worked for some, like last guy I did work with. Holy mama, like that drove me to get out of there as quick as possible. That's what really drove me into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. But see, when we're down here, I don't believe in myself and I need somebody else to tell me what I'm worth. How many of you have taken on a job that they determined how much you're worth, right? I set what I'm worth today, right? Karen, love, yeah, Ben, Dignity Mind, I just so appreciate you. I'm so glad you're here. Get into the ROI Accelerator Challenge, right? But we do the same thing in relationships. When we are interviewing whoever we're going to be with, the thought that's going through our head is, I hope they like me, right? And for most of us, what we have got into relationships that we were much younger. We didn't have the awareness that we had today. And see, going through these relationships has taught us to train ourselves to like, I don't want that to happen again, right? Okay, for not to have happen again, then we have to start changing what created it. What created it? And this is the greatest responsibility that we can ever take in our lives. Responsibility means my ability to respond. How did I create this? Born to create. How did I create this type of relationship? And understanding our first loves were our parents. And so that gets to be our opportunity to heal, whatever that is. Now, I get it. Some people had amazing parents, but yet there could have been one experience that we had as a child that radically like caused humiliation, whatever, deep pain within ourselves. And then that's the very thing that we want to do everything to get away from, right? Just understand this is how it works. Don't judge it. It's amazing, right? Like what keeps us from stepping in our greatness is our judgment of the past. Love your past. Love your past. And I'm going to drop something in the ROI Accelerator Challenge. I'm going to give you a little bit about this is because what we do, so we have this experience, we're victimized. Like I was molested, I was beaten, I was abandoned, I was shifted around houses, I was put in foster homes, like parents didn't want to deal with me, like all that stuff, right? So we are victimized, right? And we see how the perpetrator, whatever word you want to use, caused the victimization, right? So we want to be accepted. And one of our ways to do this is a new word that I see has come out. What we do is we fawn, right? Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Right? What we end up doing is we end up becoming the perpetrator and treating that wound like the perpetrator did. And we push the wound away and we judge that wound and we wish that part of us would go away. And what we're doing is the very thing that the perpetrator did when it caused the wound. And so our greatest opportunity is to go back and find these places that got separated within us. Wholeness is going back and finding all the places where we got defragmented. Right? Yes, it's not only accepting it, but it is loving it. It is literally and letting go of all the judgment and all the regret and all the things because it's part of the training. It's part of the training to get you where you're at today. Like I did not sign up and go, I'm going to be an alcoholic. I did not sign up and say I'm going to be addicted to pornography. I did not sign up and say I'm going to be addicted to drugs. I did not sign up and say I'm going to be bipolar. I did not sign up and say I'm going to be PTSD. I didn't sign up for any of those classes. It's all the conditioning. It's all of the conditioning that trained me how to cope with the things that I needed to cope with inside of myself, right? And because I've gone through all that, that's why I'm here with you. And we're all hanging out together and doing crazy things. Yay, right? So this is why it's important to go back to the 4 C's. Clarity. What is it that separates you from everybody else? Right? And these are just things. So like if you're working for somebody and not happy in your job, how did you create that? Get really clear on how did you create that? Not judging yourself, not looking at it, right? Here I'm going to leave you with this because this is so powerful. This is so powerful. You talk to people that say, money's not that important to me. Okay, cool, got it. How do you love your job? I hate it. Oh, interesting. Money's not that important to you, but you're going to 8 to 10 hours of job a day that you hate. And you want to tell me that money's not that important to you? You are prostituting out your soul. Okay, just a truth bomb. That's like what we're here for. Actually, the prostitute archetype is one of the 4 common archetypes that every human has. Right, is we sell our soul to be accepted. prostitute archetype is not about sex. It's about selling your soul to get something, right? Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff around heart. The American Heart Institute, where they talk about the number one cause for fatal heart attack after the age of 55 is job dissatisfaction, right? Relationships and our jobs are the things that we put more energy into it than anything else, right? So you being very clear about what you want to create on this earth is massively mission critical, right? So I've been talking for almost an hour now, right? Man, you are amazing, amazing people, and I appreciate you being all being here for so much. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Go sign up for the ROI Accelerator Challenge. I'm doing it this weekend. It starts Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon. This is going to be by far the best training I've ever done. This is going to bring it to an entirely different level, because my mission is to use my power, to use my passion and my creativity to empower others to live to their fullest potential. Potential is, for those of you that have been on a number of my trainings, potential is the actualization of possibility. If it has been created, it is definitely has evidence that it is possible, right? I didn't get here from where I came from. I literally had to become the butterfly to get me out of the cocoon that my conditioning taught me to believe, right? 19 years old, I did not want to be alive. I did not want to live to be past the age of 25. Today I'm on a mission. Right? And Helen, she's an amazing human being. Like, if you're not following me, if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody that showed up, and get over to TikTok and follow me on TikTok. I put a lot of amazing content out there as well. That is exclusive for TikTok. So you definitely want to follow me over there as well. I appreciate everybody being here. Do not miss the show tomorrow night. I'm going to be doing another training that is like, when I got this, it took everything I'm doing to an entirely different level, So you want to be here tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be posting about it tomorrow sometime, do a video about it or whatever. Alicia, you're awesome as well. Amazing. You do not want to miss that, because it has to do with the 4 levels of how to deliver value. And for those who are on TikTok, get over to the Potential Zone group so that you can watch how I demonstrate this on my whiteboard. Everybody have an amazing evening. You guys kept me here an hour. Like, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your valuable time with me. It means much love to all of me. Share this. I would greatly appreciate it if you support me in sharing this message with other people. And hopefully I'll see you in the ROI Accelerator Challenge. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be blessed. Have a great evening. Much love. And live like your life depends on it, because it does. And you deserve to live a blessed life. Much love, everybody.